Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to briefly look at how to mix a beat, how to get from point A to B, how to create a balance, a relationship between all the instruments in a track, between 808 and a kick and all that. The intro, the beat that we use in the intro of this video is what we are going to be looking at, and it sounds like this. Okay, let's start with the 808. Without any processing at all, this is what the 808 sounds like without the processing. The first thing I did is to put Fabfilter Pro Q3. So I put Fabfilter Pro Q3. I cut a little bit of the low end because it was too much. So it's not too much. I only cut about 26 hertz, which most of the time we don't use anyway. We're not going to be able to hear it. So I cut all the mud out, and it sounds like this. It just makes it a little bit cleaner. From there, I wanted the 808 to hit a little bit harder. So I put this Spf Transient Designer Plus by Plugin Alliance, and it sounds like this. Okay, listen without and with. Without the Transient Designer, a little bit weak. The 808 wasn't, the attack was too weak for me. So this is without the Transient Designer. Okay, now with the Transient Designer. You could hear that. So moving on, and then I put UAD Pultec from Universal Audio. I gave it a little bit more of the low end, the 30, and I gave it a little bit of the high end as well. So, and it sounds like this. The reason why I gave it the low end is quite obvious, but the high end is, these days people listen to music on their phones, on their laptop. You still want your low end to be reproduced very well as well. That's why the kick and 808, you still need to give them a little bit of the high end, so that they can hit when the people are listening to your track on a mobile phone. They should be able to hear it, because if you don't give it that, the mobile phone won't be able to reproduce the low end. So they need a little bit of that high end to reproduce the low and the lows of your track. So, and then the next thing I did, which I'm going to come back to, is this F6 from Waves, but I will come back to that because I use this to create a balance between the 808 and the kick. Let's move on to the kick. This is how the kick sounds before any processing. Which is not bad at all. So again, the first thing I did is here. The kick and the snare and everything, they came together. Okay, it's like a 2-track. So you need to be able to bring out the kick and the snare and the hi-hat, and you need to be able to spread them. So just like mixing a 2-track beat. Okay, so but if you want to spread them, you don't want to spread your low end. You don't want to spread the kick. You want the kick to stay mono, your snare to stay mono, while the hi-hats and other things on the sides can go stereo. So the first thing I did with this Pro Q3 is to cut, because I don't want the 808 and the kick to start fighting for the low end. Again, I cut a little bit, and I bump up the low end here. I gave it a little bit of a bump. However, I'm only doing that in the mid area of the beat. So I'm not doing that on the sides. I'm only doing it on the mid. I come here as well. I kind of cut a little bit out on the side, so I create a spot, like a little hole for the low end, the kick, to be able to hit harder. Okay, you can do all that using this plugin, where you can use the, mixing the mid and the sides. That's what I did. So I cut a little bit here, which I get just the sides from 69 hertz. You listen and you just sweep around, you listen to it, and when you know that your kick is not there anymore, so I cut it right there, but only on the sides. And here in the middle, again, sweeping around, I focus on the hi-hat. No, not on the hi-hat. I focus on the clap or the snare in the mid. That's what I was looking for. I was trying to find where the snare or the clap was, or the clank. When I heard it again, I did it on the side, just on the side. Then I came to the high end on the side again. I gave it a little bump. So without this plugin, without doing all that, this is how it sounds like. And this is what it sounds like after all the EQ that we did. You could hear that the kick, especially the knock, and the snare, the clank, is coming out more. You can hear the hi-hat more. It's kicking harder. Again, let's listen without, and then we listen with. That's without. Now listen with. Without. With. You can tell where the snare is hitting, right in the middle. So the next thing I did is to use Empirica Labs EQ by Softube. And what I did with this plugin, I gave it a little bump in the low end. Also, I did a little bit of cutting, a little bit of attenuating. I cut about 60 hertz, just tiny bit of it, because it was kind of like a little bit muddy there. And I did boost the 2.7 kilohertz a little bit by 2 dB. I boost 5K as well by 3 dB. And I boost 10 kilohertz by 3 dB. So without this EQ, this is what the kick and the snare and the hi-hat sound like. And now with the EQ, it sounds like this. Without. With. Okay, let's try bring the volume down so we don't trick our ear by the jump in the volume. So here is without. And here is with. Without. With. Again, without. You can see the hi-hat, the kick, especially the clank, like the snare, it's kind of a little bit tamed. Now listen to the snare, listen to the clank, listen to what it sounds like now after the EQ. With the cutting and everything we did, it sounds way cleaner, way cleaner. So let's move on. Now I need more of the transient. I need the kick to hit harder. The attack of the kick, I need more of it, and then the attack of the snare as well. So I use Spf Transient Designer from Plugin Alliance, and it sounds like this. With Transient Designer, you could hear the attack. You need to hear the attack. Boom, boom, it should hit you on your chest. And again, I use, this is UAD DBX160. This is really good on snare and kick. Very good compressor. Without the compressor, with the compressor, you could hear, you can feel it on your chest. Without the compressor, again, just listen to the clean, how the transient is, the cleaner. The attack is cleaner. You could hear it, and the attack comes in and is out. The transient is shorter, and that's what you need in a kick and a snare. The attack should be clean and short. That's what I was trying to get here anyway. And this DBX160 just makes it really good. The attack is, listen again. Now with the DBX160, and it's not doing much. It's reducing by less than 3 dB of reduction. Now, I was talking earlier about F6. What I did with the F6, I was trying to get a good balance, a good relationship between the kick and the 808. So this is what I did. I put F6 on 808. I put F6 on the kick as well. So I put F6 on both of them because I wanted to see where the 808 is sitting and where the kick, where I'm getting, which frequency is giving me most of the kick. So that's why I put the RTA version of F6. And I use this one as a side chain. In the side chain, I use the kick. The kick audio 4 is the kick that I use. And I look for where the kick is hitting most, right here. So this is where it is. You could see right there, that's where the kick, that's the spot where that kick is. So I let the kick hold that spot. So I came here, I use only the mid, because you can, this kind of EQ, they allow mid side kind of processing. So I use just the mid right here. So whenever the kick hits, it ducks the 808 just tiny bit. It ducks it just tiny bit, giving it a cleaner sound. This is without. And then just look at here, look at this place. You will see the 808 ducking. It's ducking the 808 so that the kick can just come in. That's why with this kind of processing, you need to make sure, you need to work on this transient, on the attack of the instrument you are trying to use. That is like here, we're using the kick. Make sure the transient is sharp and is clean. It needs to be like that. So just look, listen here. So, and I gave it not very far, but fast attack, fast release, because it needs to come in and out, in and out, in and out. So that creates a good balance between the kick and the snare. And now let's talk about the instrument. This is what one of the instruments sounds like before any of the processing. Okay. Now the first thing I did, I wanted just the mid range of that instrument. Okay, so I use Pro Q3 Fabfilter. I cut most of the low and a lot from the high. Then I dipped a lot from the mid because it was just too much for me. That's not what I was trying to get. So after all the processing, this is what it sounds like. And this is a very good technique if you want an instrument to sound far away, to sit back in the track. So when they put vocal in it, the vocal will be right in your face, and then this instrument will sit at the back, creating like a nice environment for every listener to feel as if they are listening live to a live band, where the pianists, the instrumentalists are at the back and the vocalists are at the front. So you want to create something like that. So after this, I put initial reverse because I just want to make it sound special. Without the initial reverse, it sounds like this. With the initial reverse, this is where I go. Like a dreamy kind of effect. And then the last thing I did, the last processing, I use OTT. This is without the OTT. So I put OTT because I wanted more of the attacks. And this is what I got. So let's put that with the other instrument. It sounds like this. You could hear that it's kind of like shorten it, give it a little bit of this tiny spot in the frequency range. The next one we are going to look at is this instrument without the processing. It sounds like this. Okay, now let's process it a little bit. First thing I did, clean it up. I love this EQ Pro Q3. Take most of the lows out, a little bit of the highs, and then it comes like this. Yes, really, really good. So I wanted to give it a little bit of a, old sound. This kind of like a old piano, old synth. I use waves J37, waves J37, and it sounds like this. It's just giving it the kind of vintage vibe, so it sounds like this. So if I put this in the track, we're going to get something like this. So the last track without any processing is this. Yeah, it's like a vocal effects. This is without any processing. The first thing I did, cut the unwanted frequencies out, and then I put waves J37 again. I wanted it to give it a little bit of a different texture, and it sounds like this. So I'm happy with that, but I wanted the reverb a little bit more, because when you cut the lows and the highs, especially the highs, it will take away most of the reverbs, because that's where they live. So I gave you more reverbs. I use soft Soundtoys little plate, and it sounds like this. So you could hear the reverb going on, and then we put everything together. This is what I got. Okay, Now let's look at the mix bus compression, or mix bus EQ, or whatever you want to do in your mix bus. The first thing I did is to put a tape plugin. This is from Universal Audio Studer A800, and it sounds like this is without the tape plugin. And with a tape plugin, Studer sound like this. It just brings everything together. Everything kind of like a gel that brings all the instruments together. And then the last thing I did was to put a mix bus compressor like a glue. Now I'm using Townhouse Bus Compressor by Plugin Alliance. I like this. It's either I use this or I use the SSL G-Bus compressor. So it depends. I will try both of them and I see which one is working best for the track I'm mixing. So I'm mixing. So this is what it sounds like after the compressor. It's just clean again. The transient, the attack is really, really good. This is without the bus compressor. Now let's put the compressor and listen to the change. And the reduction is it's not more than 4. It could be less than 4 sometimes as well. So, and what I did, I looked for the master glue. I went to the presets. I found master glue. What I normally do in a compressor like this, I like to check through the presets. If I see any preset that I like, and then I'll start working on it. Because you might choose a preset that is good, but the compression, the amount of gain reduction is too much. Then you need to start, doing your own mixing and start reducing maybe the threshold, the attack, the release. That's what I did. I chose master glue, and then I'd kind of like tweak it to meet my taste. And this is what I got. Okay, now that's all I did with the beat. I'm going to take all the plugins off. I'm going to turn them off. We're going to listen to before and after. So let's go here. You come here. So all the plugins, let's turn them off. So all the plugins are off. This is without any processing. That is not doing it for me. No, not at all. Everything is just so this is what I did. This is after all the processing. Okay, now let's go. We've come to the end of this video. I hope you like it. Drop me a line. Let me know. Thumbs up if you like. Thumbs down if you don't. Please subscribe. Click on the bell button so you can get a notification when next I drop a new video. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.